Hey, I pray I caught you in a good space. I want to talk to you just for a minute about exposure. One of the things that my father taught me years ago, and I'm still reaping the benefits of this lesson, is the difference in people is exposure. I remember talking to a person several years ago. We had taken a trip, and one of the things that they said while we were on the trip is that they had never been out of town. I found that hard to believe, or really hard to conceive, because I am one that has been traveling from the time that I was a kid. My dad would always take us places, and he taught me the difference in people is exposure. And when the person told me that, I realized just how blessed that I was and I am. Listen, one of the things that keeps a person's world small, it'll keep your children's world small. It'll keep your spouse's world small. It will keep your neighborhood world small if you never get exposed. One of the reasons why people, in many instances, harbor prejudice and racism is because they've not been exposed to a cosmopolitan mentality. They've not gotten outside of their circle. They've been fed a bunch of garbage. And as a result of that, it's because of their limited exposure that their world becomes limited. And so, listen, one of the things that I want to challenge you guys to do is to expose yourself to more. Not only the difference in people is exposure, but then there's a caveat to that, that you have to learn to filter the things that you are exposed to. In other words, when it comes to our kids, we have to filter certain things that come into their world. And the reason being is because if we don't filter them, it will send them on the wrong track. It will place them on the wrong trajectory. And if we're not careful, it will destroy their lives. And so the difference in people is exposure. But we also have to filter the things that we are exposed to. Here's the final thing that I want to tell you about exposure. One of the things that exposure does is that it gives you the opportunity to understand where you are in the game of life. Listen, all of us are students of life. As a pastor, as a leader, one of the things that I'm constantly doing is assessing where I am in the game. And that's what exposure does. I'll say this and I'll let you go. I have a member of our congregation who is he's the regional manager over these particular stores. One of the things that he told me when I asked him how the job was going and how are the people in that he is supervising, he says, one of the things that I do is that I send them into the competitor's store every so often, maybe a couple of times a month, maybe once a month or once a week. I asked the question, why do you do that? He said, the reason I do that is this. He said, I told my store managers, you may think that the lights in your store is bright, but you'll see just how bright they are or how dim they are when you go into the competitor store. And I said, that makes a whole lot of sense. Sometimes we have to learn to see what other people are doing in order to determine where we are in the game. Here's the final thing. Listen, if you can learn from somebody, learn from them. That's what exposure is all about. You don't have to be a carbon copy of them, but find out what they're doing. If it's something that can benefit you where you are, then do it so that your life and the lives of others can be made the better. I pray this word gave you strength for the journey.